So we are working on reinstalling the transmission and everything today. I just got this back from the shop the other day, and they went through the whole thing and sealed it back up and replaced everything that needed to be replaced. They actually said it was in fantastic condition. They said this is actually the best transmission I've ever seen come out of a TR6. So that's encouraging. They did replace some of these switches and stuff up here, which they said had a lot of resistance in them when they tested them. They resealed up the overdrive. They said the thickness on the clutch in here was actually better than OE, so that's good. See, I got the new throwout bearing here. This is the bronze sleeve with the Koyo bearing on it, which fits perfect on there. And I put a anti-roll pin on there too, which if you research these bronze carriers, they say you don't need to do it, but I did it anyways, because why not? I don't know why you would want the carrier to be spinning on that shaft rather than just the bearing itself. But you can tell they've resealed everything here. You can see the paper gasket and some other stuff they've added. So hopefully it doesn't leak at some point. They replaced all the bearings, all the seals in there. They said the gears and everything looked great, so they didn't touch those. And they gave me the extra parts that came with it, but yeah, they said it's good to go. They said it tested perfect. Everything feels very tight, tighter than it was. So it should be good to go. I'm glad I didn't spend the money on a 5-speed conversion, which I thought I was going to have to do. This was cheaper, and like I said, they said it was in great condition. So this is probably the more economical choice. There's a new flywheel. Or not new, but I got it resurfaced at a machine shop. So we'll get that put on, along with the new clutch and stuff. And then let me show you the clutch fork and what they decided to do on this, or they told me I should do. So I had to cut the old shaft off. There's the old one, it wouldn't come out. This is a new one. So new shaft fork. I got the high strength pin. And I was gonna drill a hole through here for a 5/16 bolt, but the shop actually told me to use roll pins instead, which is what they recommend. So these are 3/16 pins. I just got done drilling them out on the drill press, which was a pretty easy job. Just need a metal bit and a little bit of oil. This shaft isn't as hardened as I thought it was going to be. So anyways, once we get that installed, we'll just hammer those in once it's in the transmission and go from there. It should work pretty well. So there'll be 2 of those in each of those holes. Like I said, it was pretty easy to drill, quick job. So let's get the flywheel and clutch and pressure plate put on, and then we'll get working on the rest of this. Okay, so flywheel, clutch disc, and a pressure plate are all installed. And now we're ready to get the transmission married up. Let me show you those roll pins I was talking about. So you can see them right there, and there. It was actually pretty easy to do. I used a block of wood to get it started because there's not enough room in here to get a hammer into it really swing well. So the block of wood got them started, and then I just used a drift to finish them off. It was a nice tight fit. Wasn't overly difficult, and it should be plenty strong. And of course, you got the safety wire that goes on your bolt there to hopefully keep it from backing out. But even if it were to, these should be plenty strong. So anyways, I got the new throwout bearing on. I use copper grease on these where the carrier meets the flange here. And also put some grease where these fingers meet the carrier, just so it slides nice and smooth. So, but that should hopefully work good. So next step is I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on here where it's gonna marry into the clutch disc, and then this part which goes into the pilot bushing, or spigot bushing as it's called in the manual, and then we'll get her together. So we're on the home stretch, sort of. Well, I say that, we're probably not. I'm sure something bad will happen. It always does. Okay, I managed to get this back in by myself, believe it or not. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. I wasn't gonna have a second helper, but they weren't immediately available, so I figured I'd just try it myself, and I got it. So what I did was I used my homemade tool again and my ratchet strap, and I was able to get the angle correct and get everything set. You can see I got the 3 top studs are done, which is holding it on there. And then of course the input shaft or output shaft, or you want to call it, is also into the clutch now. It's stuck in there, and then of course this is holding up the rear because the transmission mount, or the end of the transmission mount, isn't on there yet. So now that I've got those 3 studs up there holding everything forward, basically, I'm going to put my dowel studs in, or dowel bolts, which should align everything correctly, make sure I don't have any clutch issues. Then I'll install the rest of the nuts and bolts. Here's a little annoying thing that happened. So luckily this transmission's probably never been removed before, and I had the original dowel bolts. I ordered new ones from Moss just cause, and they're actually slightly undersized compared to the originals. The originals are a much tighter fit, so I'm going to reuse those. We're probably only talking a couple thousands, but there was still a little bit of play with the Moss ones, which was annoying. So anyways, we'll get this all bolted up and pretty much be done. Okay, well, there's everything back together. Only thing left to do is put the cover on and then bleed the clutch cylinders, reconnect the drive shaft, and then take it for a test drive. So all the overdrive wiring is hooked up. So little tip, before I did this, I made my own wiring diagram so I could put everything back together, and I'm glad I did because the other wiring diagrams are difficult to follow. Got the new clutch slave in, which you can see right there. And I still need to put the cotter pin in. Little tip, when you do that, I bought an adjustable arm that pushes on this lever right here. I would suggest you don't buy that because it doesn't work for this type of car. Moss Motor says it does, but the way the slave cylinder in this car works, it's always putting constant pressure this direction, which means this arm is always up against the pressure plate. It means your throwout bearing constantly rides against the pressure plate. I think the TR maybe 4s and 3s had a spring on the slave cylinder that pulled this arm back that direction so that it wasn't constantly riding on the pressure plate, but this car doesn't do that. So I bought that $27 whatever arm, and that was a complete waste of money. I ended up just reusing the original because it's a correct length. So anyways, a little tip for you. So all in all, biggest challenge on putting this back in is making sure this is the correct angle to the engine. So this engine angles slightly downward like this. That's an exaggeration on my hand, but you get the idea. So if you try to put the transmission in directly level, it won't go in. The transmission has to be at the correct angle as the rear engine plate, or else you won't be able to get it in at all. I know some people struggle with that. So that's it. We'll take it for a test drive, and hopefully I'll get a driving video out here soon and a cold start video with the EFI. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.